Race 8 of the season, race 3 of the weekend. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Hockenheimring for race 3 of this weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany 2024. We've already had 2 races, one yesterday, one today. Both have been won by the BWT Muka Motorsport Duquesne with Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos at the wheel. Can they be the first driver pairing ever to take 3 wins in the same weekend? Well, they've got a bit of work to do because they're starting from P3 on the grid. The first 2 races, they started from pole position. The first with Julian Apostolos at the wheel. The second, Riccardo Cirelli had done the qualifying. Their 2 wins have completely turned the championship on its head, especially as Danny Soufi and Torsten Kratz had their first non-podium finish of the season in the last race. They got together with Anti-Ramo and ended up with damage. Let's have a look at the grid here, and it is Marcus Pommer who starts on pole position. The defending champion is alongside Keanu Al-Azari for Mullen Motorsport. On row 2 of the grid, Julian Apostolos and Danny Soufi. Julian Apostolos looking to make it 3 out of 3. Danny Soufi looking to make up for what was a difficult race 2 of the weekend. On row 3 of the grid, Jakob Erlbacher and Luca Link line up alongside each other. And then it's Anti-Ramo and Sven Bart with Klaus Abelin bringing up the rear of the pack. It was in race 2 that took place this morning that Anti-Ramo got together with Torsten Kratz and the number 2 car. I'm just looking there at the car that has not got away off the grid. That is the Momo Gebhardt Motorsport Ginetta. That is still stationary on the grid. It's got Sven Bart at the wheel. Got into all sorts of traumas in the first race of the weekend, which was yesterday, and did not finish, did not get very far at all. Not looking too hopeful here for the 3rd race. You can see a truck is just coming to give it some assistance. The rest of the field are out on their formation lap at the moment, so we'll have one eye on that. We've got one eye on the championship just while we're waiting to see what will happen with the Sven Bart car. There's the rest of the grid scrolling through your screen. Looking at row 4, Anti-Ramo, who starts 7th on the grid. You can see the red lights are on, so this race is not going to get going. That is why there is fluid leaking from the back of that car. Now, whether that is fuel or something else remains to be seen, but clearly there is an issue there. The car has not started. There is fluid pouring from the back of it, and I think we may have a delay getting this race going. A real shame, because it's great to have Sven Bart and Michael Herrick for Momo Gebhardt Motorsport. The legendary Momo colours, the red and yellow, looks great. They've got a couple of 7th places in Zandvoort, the only Ginetta in the race. As I said earlier, they didn't get past the first lap on yesterday morning. Earlier this morning, they had a 5th place finish, but it's looking like they're going to struggle to get this thing going. They may be able to rejoin later from the pit lane, but the crew will get to work on that. But certainly not the afternoon that they were expecting in that very pretty looking car. Now, the rest of the field are just currently circulating around. I was trying to tell you that it was Torsten Kratz and Anti-Ramo who got together on the first corner of this morning's race. As a result, Anti-Ramo received a drive-through penalty. Unfortunately, he did not serve the drive-through penalty correctly and got another one. So 2 drive-through penalties, still managed to finish in 4th place, which just shows you what might have been had he been able to not pick up the penalty. Right, we can see Sven Bart is running, so clearly the fluid was not fuel. Clearly it was just water of some sort that was pouring from the back of the car, so not an issue there. The rest of the field is now side by side outside getting ready. So we're going to get this race underway, and Sven Bart will be able to join from the pit lane, albeit after the rest of the pack have filed through. So our pole sitter is the defending champion, Marcus Pommer. He takes the green light. You can see Anti-Ramo ducking to the inside into turn one. Look at Keanu Al-Azari looking to the outside. He goes very wide through turn one, but it's Marcus Pommer who leads the way in towards turn two. Keanu Al-Azari slotting into second place. The rest of the cars coming through, and also Sven Bart, who will have taken to the track in the background, albeit a long way back. So a little bit of scrabbling. You can just see him in the top of your picture there, coming through to join the rest of the pack. There's Anti-Ramo, currently challenging Klaus Abelin in the number 30 car. So that is for 8th place. And he's trying to work his way past, make that 7th place as they head in towards the hairpin, which is turn 6. So good opportunity in these opening moments of the race to pick up a few places, but also a good opportunity to throw it all away. Marcus Pommer doing exactly what he needs to do at the start of this race, opening up a gap. The very impressive Keanu Al-Azari in 2nd place. The rest of the field just lining up behind now. So this race, it is 55 minutes plus 1 lap, and that's exactly what Marcus Pommer was hoping for at the start of this race. A nice clear track in front of him. So Anti-Ramo has dispatched Klaus Abelin, now setting about the number 7 car of Luca Link. So having a little look to the inside. A great circuit here at Hockenheim, but overtaking opportunities, particularly around turn 13, not always presenting themselves, but it will be up into turns 14, 15 and 16. He'll want to get as close as he can here, then out onto the pit straight. Anti-Ramo, who is a bronze-rated driver, but has been mixing it. Luca Link weaving to get heat into the tyres, but if he does too much of that, he may well be adjudged to be seen to be blocking the car behind. So there's a limit to how much weaving you can get away with before the stewards start to take a bit of a dim view on it. Klaus Abelin just in the background looking on. So Marcus Pommer leading the way, Keanu Al-Azari in 2nd, Danny Sufi after that disastrous first lap for his teammate this morning. A much cleaner first lap. And it was this morning in the 2nd race of the weekend that Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz recorded their first non-podium finish. That's how good they have been, and that is why coming into this weekend and into this race, they continue to lead the championship. But their lead in the championship is by just 5 points over Julian Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli, and so they will be very keen to stay in front of the number 8 car. The defending champion in Prototype Cup Germany, Marcus Pommer, we're riding on board with him now, and he did not start the first race of the weekend yesterday. We're going to have another look at the start of this race as we switch away from Marcus Pommer on board that car. So here we go. This was the start. Marcus Pommer keeping it nice and clean across the line. Keanu Al-Azari just dropping back a little. Look at Anti-Ramo, and he did actually have a little bit of maybe a little love tap with Jakob Erlbacher as they headed into turn 1. A few cars going very wide in turn 1. They could just about get away with it on the opening lap. Stewards tend to be a little bit more lenient, but do that during the race and you may well get a track limits penalty. So race 1 yesterday morning, Marcus Pommer, Valentina Catalano did not start the race. They had a leaking fuel tank, and it meant that they were unable to take the green flag, and it was pretty disastrous in terms of their championship hunt. So they were quite happy to see Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi probably having a tough time of it this morning. It means that the championship is incredibly close. So Marcus Pommer and Valentina Catalano are just 22 points back from Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz at the lead of the championship. Julian Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli are 2nd, just 5 points back. Keanu Al-Azari, keep an eye on the number 21 car. He is sneaking up the championship. He is now just 35 points back from the championship leaders. And coming into this weekend, he was 47 points back. So he is nibbling away at the championship lead. So Marcus Pommer doing what he needs to do to get as many points for him and his teammate Valentino Catalano. This race is 55 minutes plus 1 lap as we look at Jakob Erlbacher in the spectacularly coloured car with hundreds and thousands all over it, just circulating at the moment in 5th place. So the race, it is 55 minutes plus 1 lap. There is a mandatory pit stop that needs to take place. The pit window will open 22 minutes into the race, and it will remain open for 10 minutes. So when the clock strikes 22, the pit window will open. This is on board once again with our race leader, Marcus Pommer. You can see just using all of the curbs, extracting as much as he can. These cars very much downforce dependent. You don't want to be riding over the bumps and the curbs too much because you do lose downforce. This very fast section of the circuit along the parabolica, which is turn 5 in towards the hairpin, which is turn 6, dropping down to about 50 kilometers an hour, first gear around that corner, then hard on the accelerator out towards turn 7, and then it'll be turn 7 that you take pretty flat, then turn 8, the hard braking into the left-hand corner. So I was talking about the pit stop window, which will open in a few minutes' time. It will remain open for 10 minutes, and during that 10-minute window, every car will be required to come into the pits for mandatory stop. There is a minimum pit stop time for pit entry to pit exit of 95 seconds for every car. But depending on who is driving it will depend on how much extra time is added on top of that 95 seconds. So all of the drivers are categorized by the FIA. We have bronze drivers who are more of a gentleman driver, you could say, a pro-am driver. The silver drivers, very much the current up-and-coming, primarily younger superstar drivers, and we have a gold-rated driver as well, that in the shape of Felipe Laza. So if we have 2 silver drivers coming in who are sharing the driving duties, their pit stop will have an additional 20 seconds added to the 95 minimum pit stop time. If we have a bronze and a silver driver, there will be 10 seconds, so a little less time added to their minimum pit stop time. For a gold and a bronze driver, it is 10 seconds that is added onto that 95 second. Now we have a couple of drivers who are running solo. Those have been Antti Ramo and Keanu Alazari. Antti Ramo is a bronze-rated driver. He has no additional time added onto his pit stop. So we've seen it in the last few races. Car number 14, he's able to jump up the order because he will be stationary for a lot less time than the cars around him. At the other end of the scale is car 21, Keanu Alazari. He's a silver-rated driver, and he is solo, which means he has an additional 25 seconds added onto his minimum pit stop time. That's 25 seconds longer than Antti Ramo that he will be stationary in the pits. So in second place at the moment, but he'll want to get as far ahead of his competitors as he can to try and neutralize what will feel like a bit of a penalty in the pit stops. And just to add to that, the winners of the previous race, that being Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos, have an additional 7 seconds of success handicap. The second place drivers of Marcus Pommer and Valentino Catalano have an additional 4 seconds in the pits, and the third place car, Keanu Alazari, has an additional 2 seconds. So when the pit window opens and he comes into the pit stop, Keanu Alazari will have to be in the pits for 122 seconds. That will feel like an awful lot of time, and that is why he is pushing as hard as he can early on, as is also the case for Marcus Pommer, who continues to lead the way by about 0.8 of a second over Keanu Alazari. So Alazari not actually letting him get away, but both of them will have lengthy pit stops. Danny Sufi in third place when he hands over to Torsten Kratz during the pit window. Well, his pit stop will be 105 seconds, so he will have the potential to leapfrog these two cars because it's 105 seconds because they are a silver and a bronze rated driver. Torsten Kratz is that bronze rated driver, but the person who will be rubbing his hands together during the pit stop sequence will be Antti Ramo. He will have the shortest stop of anybody, and if all remains as it is at the moment, he will propel himself up from that 7th place where he's running at the moment. He's thinking about this morning because he could so easily, well, I say easily, it's easy for me to say, could have won the race had it not been for the drive-through penalty for the contact with Thorsten Kratz, followed by a second drive-through penalty for not taking the first drive-through penalty correctly, and he still was able to come through and finish in 4th place. So he must be relishing this race this afternoon and the potential to jump up the points order and to score well here. He's currently 5th in the points championship, 39 points back from championship leaders Danny Sufi and Thorsten Kratz. 3rd place in the points, Marcus Pommer, along with Valentino Catalano, his co-driver, currently leading the way, doing what they can to make up for the disastrous day yesterday. They had a tough start at the beginning of the race this morning, but were able to work their way back into 2nd place and now leading this. If they could keep it as a 1st and a 2nd, that really would be something of a result for the Gebhardt Motorsport crew and the number 70 car. So, 44 minutes remaining of this race, the 3rd race of the weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany, the wonderful series organised by the ADAC in the collaboration with Creventic. We've had 5 different winners in 7 races this season, just showing you how competitive this series is. And Marcus Pommer, you can see how hard he is pushing as he hustles the number 70 car over the curbs, just doing everything that he can to build up as big a gap as he possibly can before he pits and hands the car over to Valentino Catalano. But in 2nd place, the ever-impressive Keanu Alazari. He won his 1st race at Zandvoort the last time we were out. He got a 2nd place yesterday morning, a 3rd place this morning, despite the massive amount of extra time that he had to spend in the pits. And he knows that if he could get past Marcus Pommer and get some open track in front of him, he could potentially open up a good gap. But getting past Marcus Pommer is not really the work of a moment. So the cars are running fairly single file at the moment, but the battle for 1st and the battle for 3rd is very much on. It is Marcus Pommer leading the way, Keanu Alazari in that car there in 2nd place, then a gap back to Danny Sufi, but he has this morning's and yesterday's winner, Julian Apothelos, in 4th place, just behind him by about a 2nd, so that could all be potential for change as this race progresses. Looking down towards turn 8, and there is the fight for 3rd place. Danny Sufi, silver-rated driver, with Julian Apothelos, would dearly love to make it a hat-trick. Gonna be a bit of a tall order for car number 8 to make it 3 out of 3. He would be the 1st, along with Riccardo Cirelli, who, may I remind you, took his 1st ever win in Prototype Cup Germany yesterday and followed it up with another one this morning. It would be a bit of a tall order to make it 3 out of 3, but it doesn't stop them from trying, does it? So Marcus Pommer out of turn 1. These wonderful cars that make the ground rumble when they go past. They're powered by the naturally aspirated 5.6-litre Nissan V8 engine, producing about 455 brake horsepower. And I know a lot of people who are watching Prototype Cup Germany love the sound, so I'm just going to stop talking for a couple of moments just so that you can enjoy the roar of these Nissan engines. It's music to the ears, isn't it? If you've ever witnessed a prototype race live, you will know that the sound that comes through a TV or through a laptop speaker does not do it justice. When this field kicks into life, the ground shakes. You can feel the organs in your body vibrating. It is a wonderful sound. I think Prototype Cup Germany, one of the greatest sounds in motorsport, in my opinion, and also providing great racing, and that's what we're seeing. Marcus Pommer with Keanu Alizari putting the pressure on for second, but this fight for third, Danny Sufi with Julian Apotelos. Out onto the pit straight they come, and Apotelos just looking like he's inching closer and closer to Danny Sufi. Danny, who has been racing for a couple of years, well, all 3 years of the Prototype Cup Germany from the USA, very much part of the fixtures and fittings at Conrad Motorsport. So he's taken part in every season of this class in its third year. Came from something very, very different. Was racing Mazdas prior to Prototype, so this is something a bit different, but he can see Julian Apotelos has a little challenge to the outside. He moves across to block him. He can't change directions too many times into a corner under braking, otherwise he will pick up a penalty. But he saw that Julian Apotelos was trying to make a move to the right of him. He moved across to slam the door. Apotelos had to back out of it, but he can't do that too many times. Apotelos now starting to look impatient as he looks to move himself up into a podium position. So the number 8 car, suddenly the heat is very much on. In towards turn 12 they come, and into the Motordrome entrance. So Danny Sufi feeling the pressure of Julian Apotelos, the 2 times winner this weekend already. Very much championship challenger, chasing the championship leaders. So this is a personal. Car 2 and car number 8, first and second in the championship, fighting for the last of the podium positions. Out of turn 17 and straight on we go. Julian Apotelos, he's overcooked it into the tyre barrier. Disaster! He put too much pressure on, out of turn 17, straight on into the tyre barrier. Absolute disaster for the championship challengers. There's Riccardo Cirelli looking on. He will be utterly despondent. The team that won both races this weekend. Let's have another look here. He just picks up a bit of curb, loses the back end, tries to correct it into the gravel trap, into the tyre barrier, and their race is over. Julian Apotelos will be absolutely devastated inside the car. The BWT Muka team look on despondently. Suddenly, their championship challenge is going to come to a halt for this weekend. We've got a full course yellow, while the number 8 car is going to be removed, but their afternoon is over. Julian Apotelos will climb from the car. The euphoria of winning yesterday, the euphoria of a back-to-back win this morning is totally blown away as the number 8 car is buried into the tyre wall. They very much drive these prototypes right on the edge. The LMP3 formula, the Ducati D08, they're driving very much on the edge, and you only need one little mistake, and that is the first mistake we've seen from Julian Apotelos in a very long time, but it's one that is gonna hurt, because coming into this race, they were in the championship hunt just 5 points behind Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz, and now suddenly, if Sufi and Kratz can bring it home in a podium position, they are going to open up that gap dramatically. This is going to be a moment that Apotelos will look back on as possibly a season-defining moment. And Riccardo Cirelli, who has been so impressive, is not going to get to drive that car this afternoon. You can see it's made a right mess of it. Into the barrier it's gone, and it's rearranged the tyres. We're under full course yellow at the moment, so the cars are required to slow down to 80 kilometers an hour. Basically neutralizes the race as Julian Apotelos looks on, and dearie me, they say after the Lord Mayor's show comes the dust cart, and we've got a red flag. So the red flag is out. The barrier is going to need to be repaired. So the cars are going to be brought back to the grid. So we're going to have another look at this with 35.5 minutes on the clock. The clock is going to stop with the red flag. So you can see here he goes wide into turn 17, then to the inside. See the back end just stepping out, maybe picking up a little bit too much curb. He tries to correct it, looks for a moment as though he might, but suddenly he's heading straight to the scene of the accident. The car across the gravel trap, fairly short piece of gravel trap there. Not able to slow the car down too much. And the car is certainly looking distinctly second-hand after that. So it says full course yellow, and the clock is ticking at the top of your screen. On the timing screen in front of me, I have a red flag being displayed. So I think we are under red flag conditions. The cars are circulating at the moment. We'll see what happens when they come round. So it is Marcus Pommer, that's who we're on board with, just circulating slowly. And we have conflicting messages here. I'm pretty sure it's a red flag that we have, but the clock is still ticking on the timing screen, so it might not be. So we'll let you know. Yes, it is red. You can see the reds there flashing at the side of the track, and the red flags are out. So the cars will be brought back to the grid. I expect the red flag is because the barrier has been damaged. And of course, safety is very, very important. Making sure that all the protection is in place, both for the drivers and for the spectators. So cars returning back to the grid, the doors are open. I noticed the clock is still ticking, but normally under red flag conditions, the clock will stop. That might not be the case. It could be at the discretion of the race steward, but the race director. But we'll find out about that later. Of course, this is the bonus race that we weren't expecting. Originally, only 2 races were planned for this weekend at Hockenheim. We all gathered on the 3rd week of April at Spa-Francorchamps for round 1. And when the snow was coming down, we suddenly realised there was a distinct possibility it might not happen. And that was the case. The event was shelved before any racing had taken place. And the 2 races that were due to have taken place at Spa-Francorchamps were rescheduled. We had one additional one that was added on to the round at the Hockenheimring. That was in May. And then we had another one that was added on to this weekend. This race being the bonus race, so to speak, because we've had the 2 regular already. Quite unusually, we've got back-to-back weekends for the prototypes because we are back again next weekend at another legendary German circuit. There's Franz Conrad on the radio. Another legendary circuit, and that is in the shape of the Nürburgring. And a lot of attention is on next weekend because not only is it a DTM event, and we're part of the DTM, but we are seeing the debut in Prototype Cup Germany of not just David Schumacher, who we've seen in DTM and GT Masters, but also his dad, ex-Formula 1 pilot Ralf Schumacher, will be teaming up with his son for round 4 races 9 and 10 at the Nürburgring. We are really excited to see that. It'll be Ralph's team, Us Racing, that will be fielding the car. And I think it's something that many people have wanted to see for some time, both Ralph and David Schumacher running together in the same car, and there's a lot of media attention on it already, making a lot of headlines across the world. And I think there's going to be a lot of people watching at the Nürburgring. That is next weekend, the 16th to 18th of August. We'll be back to 2 races, and all being well, it'll be 2 races next weekend, and then the season comes to a close at the Sachsenring from the 6th to the 8th of September. And the Sachsenring, well, that really is a tricky circuit. If you've never seen it, you are in for a treat. We run in an anti-clockwise direction. It is very, very much an undulating circuit. Lots of hills, lots of blind crests. Also, it's quite famous as a tyre eater. Tyre preservation is absolutely everything at the Sachsenring. Making sure the tyres go the distance is the skill, because getting the car around is one thing, but making it last to the end, especially for the second driver who has to take over the car in whatever state it happens to be in and whatever state the tyres are in after the pit stop, that is always tricky at the Sachsenring. We're looking at Klaus Abelin. We've been given a 10-minute countdown, so 10 minutes until this race is due to get restarted. Now, interestingly, the clock is still running, so they haven't reset it. Sometimes in a red flag conditions, the clock will stop, but at the moment, well, you can see on your screen, and to confirm it's the same as the timing screens, the clock is still ticking. So, it may well be a bit of a dash for the cash. Having said that, the pit window will still need to open. We'll still need to get the second drivers in the seat in the instance where a second driver is required. So we'll keep you updated on that. There may be more messages to come. It's currently 15:41 local time, so about 15:50, 10 to 4 local time is when we would expect to get this race underway. Now, interesting to see them working on the Conrad Motorsport car. So I wonder if there is an issue there for Danny Sufi, along with Torsten Kratz. I would love to tell you what they're doing to the car. I just about recognise what the wheels look like and what an engine looks like. That's about as far as my knowledge goes on that, I'm afraid. But clearly, there is some consternation, and it might be this red flag has come at a very opportune moment for our championship leaders. Well, they've looked. I'm going to move the brolly before you put that on. There we go. The engine cover goes back on and Broly's out of the way. So what is going on down there? That's good. Get the camera in there. That's what I say. So it's something to do with the exhaust. And has it been burning a little bit there? Is it getting a little bit hot? Well, that is the protective Inconel, is it? Don't quote me on that. That they use for the heat protection around the exhaust. And it looks as though there might be some issues with that. Because it's red flag conditions, of course, the teams are able to work on the cars to a degree. They are in parc fermé conditions, but they are able, the drivers are able to get out and stretch their legs, take a comfort break. So what is going to happen? Well, this is, your guess is as good as mine. What is going to happen in terms of the pit window, which was due to have opened in the 22nd minute? Well, that has been and gone and was going to remain open for 10 minutes. I suspect that the clock might get wound back in a bit, and we might have a slightly longer race. So Marcus Palmer was the leader at the time of the stoppage. If you're just joining us, it is high drama indeed. The heroes from race 1 and race 2 of the weekend, Julian Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli, who were closing in on the championship and coming into this race, were 5 points behind Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz in that car there. Julian Apotelos at the wheel had a moment on the exit of turn 17. The car speared off into the barriers. His race is most certainly over. The barriers, well, looks like they've been repaired and the tyres have been put back into place, but suddenly it is looking a lot more favourable for Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi. They had a fairly troubled race this morning, getting spun out after a collection by Antti Ramo. Ramo got the drive-through penalty as a result of it, but Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi recorded their first non-podium finish of the season. Yes, that is correct. They've had a second, 2 firsts, a second, 2 thirds, and then it was an 8th place this morning. That is how championships are won, isn't it? That looks like Valentina Catalano just at the side of the car. It's not his time to get in yet. What is the time now? So we will be getting going again shortly. Local time is 15:44, so I reckon about 5 minutes time. Track sweeper out on track, doing a great job. Also, coming into this weekend, we had a couple of other championships. We had the Trophy Championship. Antti Ramo was leading that ahead of Torsten Kratz and Klaus Abelin. And he was leading before this morning's race by 28.5 points. And that gap will still be fairly sizable at the top of the Trophy Championship. And in the Junior Championship, Danny Sufi was leading Julien Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli by 92.5 points. That was coming into this morning's race. Well, that gap will have... well, it's going to extend, isn't it, after this stoppage, because Julien Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli are not going to be scoring any points this afternoon. Right, the race time is going to be reset at 35 minutes. So we said they might wind the clock back, so 35 minutes, and look at the state of that car. The BWT Mucker team, who are very experienced, great people. They will get that back together in time for Nürburgring next weekend, but it's going to be a fairly big rebuild. That car is what is known in the trade as mullered, and certainly the front left corner, not the correct shape for aerodynamics. So it's going to be a 35-minute dash for the cash. Let's have another look at this crash that caused all this damage for Julien Apotelos. It was out of turn 16 and then into 17. Just a couple of wheels. There's an AstroTurf down there. There is very little grip on the outside. I want to talk about the gravel, but there is a drag strip that operates on the outside of turns 16 and 17, and that is like walking on ice. It's hard to even stay standing up when you're walking on it, not to mention driving. It's great for donuts. But Apotelos, they didn't get out that far, but you saw him just getting a wheel out wide. He corrected it, and the back end just stepping out and perhaps asking just a little too much from the car, and into the barrier he went. And again, it shows you these drivers are not pootling around on a Sunday afternoon enjoying the sunshine. They are on the edge, and I do know, having watched Prototype Cup Germany for all 3 of its seasons, that these cars bite. They bite hard when they go, and Julien Apotelos has learnt that one the hard way, and no doubt that he and Riccardo Cirelli will come back at the Nürburgring for races 9 and 10 with all guns blazing, looking to make amends. But it does put them a little bit on the back foot as far as the championship goes. Right, well, it looks like we are getting pretty close to getting this going. We're about 3 minutes away. Hello, chap, in the safety car, doing a sterling job at the front of the pack, and he will be getting them going. Oh, we're down to 1 minute. Great stuff. So the new pit window will be from 15:52 to 16:02 local time. So 15:52, so the window will open in about 2.5 minutes from now, and it will remain open until 2 minutes past 4 local time. To remind you, during that pit window, every car will need to come into the pits for a mandatory stop, where there are 2 drivers registered, a driver change. Where there's only 1 driver registered, then just to come to a stop. And I've already told you about the minimum pit stop times. I'm not going to do that again because you've probably had enough sleep this afternoon already. The sun is shining, the conditions are perfect. Julien Apotelos, Riccardo Cirelli are thoroughly fed up. Everybody else is ready to go. We've got 8 cars on the grid. The rumble through the ground as the engines are running. Chiano Alizari enjoying the manual air conditioning to the very last minute. Right, green light, and in fact the door is still open. Joking about the manual air conditioning, but there is an issue. So there's 2 cars with the doors still open. The crews have left the doors open. Right, so that's 1 that is closed. That's the Momo Gebhard motorsport car of Sven Bart. But this could be a bit of a disaster because Chiano Alizari's door is open on his car. Now, whether there is an issue getting it going as well. We did see an issue with the number 90 car earlier. The clock is running, so Keanu Alizari, now maybe the heat sink has caused the car, they can't get the thing running, can they? That's why the door's open. So at the moment, on board with our race leader, Marcus Palmer, behind the safety car, but we've got two cars that are stranded on the grid. Very significantly though, one of them is a car that was very much challenging for the lead. Keanu Alizari, they can't get the car going. It looks like they're taking it back into the pits. This is a disaster. The driver who has been on the crest of a wave from the United Arab Emirates, another car as well, and I think maybe just sitting in the very hot sunshine here at the Hockenheimring. We've lost Sven Bart and Keanu Alizari from the grid. Neither car has got running. The rest of the field currently up towards the hairpin on turn 6. Now the engine is running on car 90, so he's going to be able to rejoin. But Keanu Alizari is going to, if they can get it running, is going to be at the back of the queue. We've had confirmation the safety car is in on this lap, so they haven't got a lot of time to get this going. So for the second time this afternoon, Sven Bart is waiting at the pit exit for the rest of the queue to come past before he can join this race. But Keanu Alizari, the driver who we were expecting to see on the podium in this race, currently still in the pits. They're still trying to get the thing fired up. So on board with Marcus Palmer. It was his turn for the bad luck yesterday morning. He's getting his good luck today. And Danny Sufi, who is elevated up into second place, Jakob Erlbacher in the Gebhardt Motorsport Duquesne is up into third place, looking for his first podium of the season. So here we go. 6 cars, nose to tail. This is a dash for the cash because there are 32 minutes remaining. Finally, the safety car peels off into the pit lane. It's Marcus Palmer who leads the field across the line to receive the green flag. I don't know whether Keanu Alizari has got going. It looks in the top of your picture like maybe he has just got going, but is he going to stay on the lead lap? I suspect not. No, well, yes, the car's coming through, so I think that still keeps them on the same lap. So both Sven Bart and Keanu Alizari, they've got it running. It will keep them, I believe, on the same lap because the previous one was under yellow. You can see Marcus Palmer, the tyres have cooled down despite the heat here at the Hockenheimring, and he's having to fight really hard with the wheel to keep the car pointing in the right direction. Everybody will be aware of Julian Apothelos and what happened, how easy it is to lose these cars and end up in the barrier. There's Klaus Abelin in 6th place. Heading up towards the hairpin, turn 6, the heavy braking. So, as you were, after a stoppage for the number 8 BWT Muka car that was buried in the barriers on the exit of turn 17, we are now back under racing with just over 31 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. The heat is on for Jakob Erlbacher, the last of the podium positions. Luca Link really would love to get on the podium, but keep an eye on Antti Ramo. He is there with Luca Link. As long as he doesn't make contact, Antti Ramo, when the pit sequence is over, is going to have the potential to jump in front of all the cars in front of him, because he will have that pit stop that is significantly shorter than the race leader. So he just needs to stay at the back of this queue, keep the leaders in his sights, and it could be Antti Ramo who could jump out in the lead. It looks like he's pitted early. I saw a car peeling off into the pit lane. It was Antti Ramo, so he's doing his pit stop early. He's only going to be stationary for 95 seconds. Also in Klaus Abelin, he's going to be handing over to the gold-rated Felipe Lazar. Felipe, without wishing to be rude to Klaus Abelin, probably the quicker of the two. So, now that's an interesting positioning. He has not stopped as tightly in the pit box as he might have done. I wonder whether the race stewards will take a bit of a dim view of the Fricadelli racing car out. He's not in the fast lane, but he is not in his pit box, so there may well be a penalty incoming for car 30. Also Sven Bart handing over to Mikael Herrick. So Hockenheimring, who is another of the bronze-rated drivers. He shares with Sven Bart. It means that his additional pit stop time is 10 seconds, making it 105 in total. Now, what is going on with Antti Ramo? I think now maybe the reason that the Fricadelli racing car is not in the pit box, I think Antti Ramo had overshot into the Fricadelli box. So, issues there. They're having to push the number 14 car back into the pit box. So there's been clearly a bit of a problem. Somebody's made a bit of a Horlicks of it. And I don't know where the boxes are. Now Antti Ramo goes. That really short pit stop for him. He is back out, but if he is stopped in the wrong pit box, he may well be required to come back in again. Certainly one of the two, either Fricadelli Racing or Antti Ramo, the MRS GT racing car, one of them has done something that is almost certainly going to be a pit infringement. No such problems for Michael Herrick. He gets the Momo Gebhardt Motorsport car, the only Ginetta in the race, back out on track. At the front, Marcus Pommer sees an open track in front of him, and I would suggest that he would want to stay out as late as possible in the pit window. Why would he pit and come in and potentially come back out into traffic when he's got an open track in front of him? So he'll probably hand over to Valentina Catalana towards the end of the pit window, which is open for another 6 minutes. So Marcus Pommer with the open track in front of him. Danny Sufi is still yet to pit, as is the case for Jakob Elbacker. Luca Link in 4th place, who's been passed by Jakob Elbacker. Antti Ramo in that 5th place, who has done his pit stop. So keep one eye on Antti Ramo. Then Felipe Laza, and then Keanu Al-Azari, who will have a very lengthy pit stop. Well, I'm predicting doom and gloom. I've seen nothing on the messaging screens to suggest there is any penalty, but clearly there was an issue with Antti Ramo and also with Klaus Abelin in the pits. But nothing has flagged up at the moment. So, as you were, there's our race leader, little twitch out of turn 17, keeps it all together along the pit straight, up to about 230 kilometers an hour in 5th gear before the braking. 4th gear turn, the right-hander, right, more into the pits. That's Jakob Elbacker, Luca Link coming in. So Jakob Elbacker will be handing over to Maxim Dirks, who had a bit of a problem this morning, ended up in the barriers. We'll be looking not to repeat that this afternoon. Also, Luca Link, who is done for the day, will be handing over to Suelio Almeida. Suelio, great to have him, along with Luca Link, joining Prototype Cup Germany for this event. Luca Link, who we saw in the BMW M2 Cup last year, who's also racing in GT4 in a Porsche this weekend, something a bit different. But now he's out of the seat, his work is done for the day, and it's Suelio Almeida who jumps into the seat of that car. He is the founder of the Motor Racing Academy. You may have seen that online, lots of YouTube videos. He has over 5,000 registered drivers on his online courses, teaching them a few things. He's doing it for real out on the track here this weekend, behind the wheel of the number 7, a Data Lab by Rinaldi Racing car, the Duqueine. Another Duqueine is the one that's leading the way, and that is Marcus Pommer. Still out on track at the moment. Danny Sufi in 2nd place, 2.6 seconds back. That's the hundreds and thousands, that's at least what I think it looks like, paint scheme of the number 80 car of Maxim Dirks. To complete another lap, Marcus Pommer, as we suggested, staying out quite late in the pit window. He's going to have to come in the next couple of minutes, though. He cannot miss the pit window, otherwise there will be dramas. Still no other messages being flagged up on the pit window. Look how hard Marcus Pommer is pushing the car. You can see him sliding around turn 2, now into the parabolica, flat out towards the hairpin of turn 6. Yes, so despite my doom-mongering, nothing flagged up in terms of the pit stop, so I think looks like we're all good in terms of pit stop infringements, certainly so far. That car there, with the minimum pit stop time, and again another one that's struggling to get going, and we're finding this a lot with these cars. The LMP3's a little bit stroppy when it comes to hot weather, getting them going again, not always the work of a moment. The Gebhardt Motorsport crew giving it a push, and it's Maxim Dirks from Belgium who now takes to the track, having taken over from the German Jakob Erlbacher. Sven Bart was in the seat of that car at Lausitzring, and he's switched across to another of the Gebhardt Motorsport cars, the Momo Gebhardt Ginetta, the number 90 that he's sharing with Mikael Herrick, and Mikael Herrick currently in 8th place. The only car that is not running, Julina Potolos, along with Riccardo Cirelli. They would thank me for not reminding everybody about that every few minutes. Right, into the pits comes our race leader, Marcus Pommer, getting ready to hand over to Valentina Catalano. Right, so in they come to the pits, keeping to the speed limit. This is going to be 119 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So that is 95 seconds for the minimum pit stop time, plus 20 seconds because they are a silver-silver combination, plus an additional 4 seconds for finishing second in the previous race. So plenty of time to get things going. That's a car lighting up, coming out of the pits in the background. So into the seat gets Valentina Catalano, taking over from Marcus Pommer. No rush at all, make sure he's buckled in, no mistakes, no dramas. I would just say that while we're looking at this, currently out on track, Felipe Laza is the fastest car by some distance, a 137.977. He's turned the screens purple just to keep an eye on the number 30 car who's out on track at the moment. Right, the door is shut of the number 70 car. I think everybody has now been in. Our race leader, Danny Sufi, actually has not been in, but will need to come in this time around because the pit window is still open, but time is running out. The engine of the number 17 Gebhardt Motorsport Duquesne fires into life. Well, that's a relief, looking at some of the other cars, traumas that we've had already. Now I'm looking at car 2, has not come into the pits, so Danny Sufi is still out. I do believe the pit window will be closing at any moment, and car 2 is still out on track. Because of the stoppage, don't have an exact time that the pit window is going to close, not to hand anyway. So, right, 16:02. I think that Danny Sufi might struggle to get back to the pits before the pit window opened. The pit window has closed, and now he's into the pits. So he's got in just in the nick of time. So Danny Sufi is into the pits now, handing over to Torsten Kratz. I think he just about made it. That was cutting it close to the mark. So Torsten Kratz will jump into the car of the number 2 car, the Conrad Motorsport car. 21 minutes remaining of this race. And just kneeling there, looks like he's praying, doesn't it? Please bring this home. So Danny Sufi hands over to Torsten Kratz, the bronze-rated German driver, has won twice, 2 second places, 2 third places, looking to make it a 3rd win if they can, trying to keep the car cool so that it restarts when they need to get it going. There's a good insight there from our RF camera crew. Good job. Right, so Conrad Motorsport have done all they need to do. The engine fires into life, so that is good news. Now, just waiting for the clock to tick down. He'll want to hit the pit exit line as soon as the clock hits what will be 107 seconds. That is 105 plus the 10 seconds for a bronze and silver combination, plus 2 seconds for finishing 3rd. No, I beg your pardon. He hasn't got the additional finishing 3rd. That was in race 1. So it is 105 seconds is when it would have hit the pit exit. So he rejoins out on track. So everybody is pitted. I said keep an eye on Antti Ramo, car 14, because after the pit stop sequence, Antti Ramo is the new race leader. Car 14 for MRS GT Racing, now leading the way in 2nd place it is Torsten Kratz in car number 2. Right, a pit stop infringement has happened, but this is for Maxim Dirks. Car 80 has a drive-through penalty for a pit stop infringement. Now, whether that was going below the minimum pit stop time, whether it was having too many people working on the car, whatever it was, car 80 has a drive-through penalty. Despite my doom and gloom over the other 2 cars that pitted in what looked like out of their pit boxes, that was Antti Ramo and also Klaus Abelin. There has been nothing flagged, so all good there. Clearly it was all within the restrictions, but car 80 will have to take a drive-through penalty, so we'll drop him down from 6th place probably to something like last place. Right, Antti Ramo is our race leader. In 2nd place, it's Torsten Kratz in the number 2 car. He's taken over from Danny Sufi, but Kratz is 5 seconds back. 2 bronze drivers running together in 1st and 2nd. In 3rd place, a gold-rated driver of Felipe Laza, some 10 seconds back from the race lead. So we've got 2 bronzes being closed in on by a gold-rated driver. Our race leader prior to the pit window, Marcus Pommer, has come out in 4th place. So we knew it was going to take a bit of a hit with the minimum pit stop times. That's dropped him from the lead down into 4th place. Now he is 10.6 seconds back. Felipe Laza is 1 second back from Torsten Kratz, and that's what, well, it's less than 1 second now, isn't it? You can see what the gap is. Up ahead is Antti Ramo. He's about 5 seconds clear of this fight, but it is a gold-rated driver versus a bronze-rated driver. And, well, if you look at it on paper, then Felipe Laza should not have too much trouble getting past the Conrad Motorsport Ligier ahead of him. That is in 2nd place. Of course, we have already seen that Torsten Kratz is pretty useful behind the wheel of that car, but the might of Felipe Laza for Fricadelli Racing, filling his mirrors, trying to remove that 2nd place away. It's allowing Antti Ramo at the front to stretch his legs by 5 seconds. So he's just crossing the line and has crossed the line. This is the fight for 2nd place, which is 5 seconds back from Antti Ramo. It is Torsten Kratz, not Danny Sufi, as it says on the screen. Torsten Kratz, who's taken over from Danny Sufi. To the inside, Felipe Laza having a little look. The driver identities has to be switched over manually in the car. Sometimes, in all that's going on, it's one of the things that can get forgotten. So it is Torsten Kratz in the green and black watermelon car out towards turn 6, the hairpin. Once again to the inside, Felipe Laza sees the gap. Now Torsten Kratz sweeps across the front. Felipe Laza deciding to back out of it. He didn't want to lose the front end there, but now surely around turn 7, which is taken flat out, he's going to put the pressure on. So Torsten Kratz doing a great job holding off the gold-rated Felipe Laza, who is just behind him. Felipe Laza, who won the Nürburgring 24-hour race in 2023. A very experienced driver. Trying to find his route past Torsten Kratz in that 2nd place. So car 30 in 3rd place. Meanwhile, our race leader, he's able to stretch his legs further. Antti Ramo stretching his legs at the front while these 2 are fighting for 2nd place. It's allowed him to add a couple of tenths onto his, in fact 7 tenths onto his lead. Now up to 6.335 seconds. So the gap between 1st and 2nd is growing because of this fight that is going on, and Felipe Laza will be impatient to get past car number 2 because we are getting into the last quarter of an hour plus 1 lap of this race. Antti Ramo well ahead of them by 6.3 seconds. Listen to the roar along the parabolica. The growl of the 5.6-litre Nissan engine. Under braking into the hairpin. Now Lazar has the inside, but can he get it slowed down? You saw the car snaking under braking. He gets past. Now back onto the power, and he's in front. Out of the hairpin he comes towards turn 7, taken absolutely flat out. Right, the gap 6.335 between first and second. The bronze-rated Anti-Ramo in the lead. The gold-rated Felipe Lazar in second place. What can he do about that 6.3 second gap? In third place, Torsten Kratz. In fourth place, the early race leader, Marcus Pommer, has not come out of the pit stop sequences particularly well, but will have his eyes on a podium position as he hones in on the Torsten Kratz car just ahead of him, and we'll see what the gap is in a bit when they cross the line. Here's another look at that move from Felipe Lazar. A big gap on the inside. This time Torsten Kratz gives him the space. You saw how hard Felipe Lazar was having to brake and get back on the power. The back of the car snaking around, but he gets back onto the power and takes that position away with 13 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. It is race 8 of a 12-race season for the Prototype Cup Germany here at the Hockenheimring in the glorious sunshine. The lead has come down 5.9 seconds last time around. I would wager it's going to be significantly less than that the next time they cross the line. At the moment, Anti-Ramo has circulated around the hairpin. He's up towards turn 7. The second place car of Felipe Lazar tracking him down for all he's worth to try and find his way somewhere near the top step of the podium. It's broken clear of Torsten Kratz in third place. Marcus Pommer a long way back though. So Marcus Pommer 10.5 seconds back from Torsten Kratz in third place. So to get on the podium is going to be a bit of a stretch for Marcus Pommer here. So he's going to give it all he can, but with 12.5 minutes remaining, and we've already seen what can happen when you push too hard. But pushing hard is what Felipe Lazar is doing. We saw him locking up a brake several times in the previous 2 races this weekend. Out across the line he comes. So 5.945 last time across the line, 3.92. So if he carries on at this rate, he will be up with our race leader, Anti-Ramo, in, well, maybe 2 or 3 laps. So Anti-Ramo will no doubt be aware that Felipe Lazar is in the background, loitering. He has taken a massive chunk out of that lead. 3.92 seconds that time around. Heading along the Parabolica towards the hairpin. The growl of the MRS GT Racing Ligier JSP 320. Anti-Ramo at the wheel. You can see the gap now. First and second almost in the same camera shot. That's how quickly Felipe Lazar is closing in on Anti-Ramo. He took over from Klaus Abelin in the number 30 Fricadelli racing car. Now, disappearing in his rear-view mirrors, Torsten Kratz. You can see him quite a long way back in that third place, having taken over from Danny Sufi. Marcus Pommer, a fair way back from them, some 9 seconds back. So, with 11 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, this is looking like it could be a grandstand finish, because there is no doubt that Felipe Lazar is catching the black and white car with the yellow flashing of Anti-Ramo, who is leading the way. The driver who got 2 drive-through penalties in this morning's race. Keeping his nose clean this time though, leading across the line they come. So 3.92 last time across, 2.9, so he's taken a second out of it. So at this rate, well, complex calculations, about 3 laps at this rate. It is going to be the closing stages of this race. These cars are lapping in about 1 minute 39. So that is about 4.5 minutes, isn't it? So you can tell I did well at maths at school, can't you? It's going to be about getting on for 5 minutes remaining of this race if things remain as they are, when Felipe Laza is going to be on the back bumper of the anti-Ramo car. It is 3 Ligiers leading the way. Anti-Ramo ahead of Felipe Laza and Torsten Kratz. Then it's 4 Duquesnes in the shape of Valentina Catalana, who has taken over from Marcus Pommer, of course. We've been calling him Marcus Pommer. It is Valentina Catalana, despite what the graphic says. Then Suelio Almeida, then Jakob Elbacker and Keanu Alizari, who's down in 7th place after a disastrous pit stop. And he'll be very disappointed with that. But he is ahead of Mikael Herrick, who is in 8th place. Right, keeping one eye on the gap. Our race leader up into turn 16 at the moment, around into turn 17. So 2.999 last time across the line. Has he got it down into the ones? It looks like it visually, but he crosses the line and he's going to stop the clock, and it is a 1.936. So another second taken out of it at this rate. Next time they cross the line, it will be about 9/10 of a second if things remain as they are. But time is running out. 8 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this, the 3rd race of the weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany at the Hockenheimring. The bronze-rated Anti-Ramo leading the way. He took a surprise win, surprised even himself in the first of the 2 races at Zandvoort on the 2nd week of July. It's the only time he stood on the podium in the overall race for the Prototype Cup Germany. He's looking good for a podium here this afternoon in this round 3. But which step will it be? Because Felipe Laza is looking to relegate him further down the order. At the moment, he's in the lead. Felipe Laza in 2nd, Torsten Kratz in 3rd, Valentino Catalano in the number 70 car in 4th place, then Suelio Almeida in 5th place. But our attention very much on this battle up towards the Sachs curve. They come, the banked corner in the Motordrome Arena, and then a little squirt of power out towards 14, 15 and 16, taken in quick succession. Then the short shoot out into turn 17 and across the line. 1.936 was the gap between them last time around. Now, this time, they cross the line. 1.162. The gap is coming down. Maybe not quite as much as it did on the previous 2 laps, but it is coming down. 7 minutes and 10 seconds plus 1 lap remaining of this race. Anti-Ramo holding on for all he's worth, drawing on all of the experience that he has. The solo driver, he's been behind the wheel of that car for the whole race. Felipe Laza, a much fresher set of arms and legs. It was Klaus Abelin who did the first stint in that car, and now Felipe Laza jumping into the seat as they head towards their hairpin. Suddenly the gap is incredibly visual. You can see what it is. 1st and 2nd together, almost in one picture. Here they come, 1st and 2nd. Felipe Laza, surely a challenge is going to come for the lead. 6.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, but Anti-Ramo will be holding on for all he's worth from the number 30 car. Again towards turn 11 and 12 they come. They'll cross the line again, and we'll see what the gap is. 1.162 as they head in to the Sachs curve once again. 25 laps in the bag. Already a lock-up from Anti-Ramo. Is he looking too much in the mirror? Not enough ahead of him. You saw the lock-up, the blue smoke that came from the car, but he's still in the lead. He's still got that gap. Felipe Laza just holding it all together. You saw the back of his car snaking slightly out of 16 into 17 along the pit straight, picking up a slipstream now. That's how close he is across the line. Half a second, 0.556 between 1st and 2nd place. They are 9 seconds clear of Torsten Kratz in 3rd place. So the fight for the lead going down to the wire with 5.5 minutes remaining. Surely the challenge is going to come from Felipe Laza anytime soon. Anti-Ramo needs to keep his eyes in front, not allow himself to be intimidated by the red and white machine that is filling his mirrors. along the parabolica once again towards the hairpin of turn 6. Now Laza has a little look to the inside, then he ducks to the outside. Nothing going on there. Antti Ramo has it covered off. A drag race at a turn 6, but Ramo well ahead at the moment. The flat out turn 7. Ramo will have sweaty palms. He will have one eye on the mirror, one eye in front. He'll want to hit all the right braking points. He needs to not make any mistakes here, because Felipe Laza is now close enough, ready to pounce if any gap appears in front of him. Towards the Motordrome they come yet again. Car 14 leading the way. Antti Ramo in towards the Sachs curve. And again, out of the Sachs curve, the teams look on nervously, and they're in the MRS GT Racing team. Carsten Molitor's team. He is a legendary team owner. Felipe Laza, just saw him drifting around the corner. Now Laza has dropped back, so while we were looking in the pits, looks to me, yes he has, he's lost a couple of tenths. So what's he pushing? Just a little bit too hard, because Felipe Laza suddenly, looking like he was challenging for the lead with less than 4 minutes remaining, had lost a couple of tenths. Now he's managed to get that back again, but you do wonder, have the tyres cried enough of that Fricadelli racing car, or did he make a mistake, or is he just winding himself up, ready for one more push to get into the lead of this race? He can't take too long, because there are just 3.5 minutes remaining of this weekend's racing, the third of 3 races for the Pro Stock Cup Germany. Thrilling stuff here at the Hockenheimring. Out of the hairpin once again, Antti Ramo doing everything that he needs to do to stay in front, positioning the MRS GT Racing Ligier ahead of the identical car that is run by Fricadelli Racing behind him. Turn 11 and towards turn 12, taken in 4th gear, 250 kilometers an hour down to about 160 kilometers an hour. Then up towards the Sachs curve, reaching about 200k briefly in 4th gear before dropping down to 90k, 2nd gear corner. Then turns 14, 15 and 16 almost taken as one. And then the short burst of power in towards turn 17. 2.5 minutes remaining. You are witnessing the battle for the lead of the race. It was 0.721. It's 0.596. So once again, Felipe Laza back on the charge, but time is starting to run out. When the clock strikes 0, the race leader will finish the lap that he's on, and then it will be +1 lap. Felipe Laza has not given up on this. Torsten Kratz in 3rd place, some way back. Then it's Valentina Catalano in 4th place. It doesn't look like a podium is for the offing in this race today, but it will be valuable points in the championship hunt. As things remain as they are at the moment, Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz will extend their championship lead. But we are looking at this battle once again out of the hairpin. Now Felipe Laza looks to the right-hand side of Antti Ramo. Ramo goes to try and block. They go side by side. Ramo blocking all that he can, all that he dare before he picks up a penalty. Now Laza has the nose in front. The 2 cars make contact. Ramo goes wide, and it's Felipe Laza who comes through into the lead. Antti Ramo made that car as wide as he dared, but the stewards would have got involved had he blocked him any more than he did. Our new race leader with just over 1 minute remaining, +1 lap, Felipe Laza, along with Klaus Ablin. Antti Ramo, who has led for such a long time in this race, relegated down into 2nd. Look at this, you see Ramo moving across, a little bit of contact, and he moves back across again to try and shut the door. Laza says, no, you don't, mate, I'm coming through. There was a bit of contact there. Ramo going into the runoff area. Laza getting his elbows out and says, hold on, chaps, I'm coming through. And that's exactly what he has done. He's already opened up about 8 tenths from him. Now looking into here, now this is another challenge. So Antti Ramo coming back on Felipe Laza. We thought that Laza was going to pull away, but Antti Ramo now back alongside the two cars for the lead with 15 seconds of this race remaining. Phenomenal stuff. Antti Ramo, Felipe Laza running side by side. Antti Ramo, the bronze-rated driver. Into the hairpin they come. Ramo goes straight on. Felipe Laza into the lead again. But what great driving from Antti Ramo. We didn't see how he got back to challenge at the front. He's not given up yet. I honestly thought when Laza got in front that was done and dusted, but Antti Ramo, what phenomenal driving. He locks up a brake into turn 8. He holds on to it, and now Laza's able to put a bit of a gap between first and second, but incredible stuff. Antti Ramo coming back at Felipe Laza. Now, did Laza make a mistake here? We saw that gap on the inside. I don't think anybody expected Ramo to suddenly come dive bombing up the inside, but that's exactly what he did. Brilliant from Antti Ramo. What great driving. To remind you, Felipe Laza is a gold-rated championship-winning driver. Antti Ramo, a bronze-rated driver, out to start the last lap of the race. Felipe Laza, he cannot rest on his laurels. He's now had a taste of what Antti Ramo can do once he gets the bit between his teeth, and Ramo has not given up on this yet, has he? Out towards turn 2 and then into turn 3 once again, and it will be flat out along the parabolica. Antti Ramo giving it everything he's got to try and steal the lead back from Felipe Laza, but fantastic driving in the number 14 car to challenge Felipe Laza like he did. Absolutely brilliant. Now out along the parabolica into the hairpin for the last time this weekend. First and second place. In a distant third place, Torsten Kratz. He'll be happy with that. It'll be good points for their championship hunt. It'll allow him and Danny Sufi to draw clear a little at the top of the championship after a difficult morning this morning. But Felipe Laza, who took over from Klaus Abelin, Antti Ramo in second place, who has been the sole driver of that car, out towards turn 12 for the last time. Felipe Laza now has a bit of a gap between himself and second place in towards turn 13, the Sachs curve, for the very last time, locking up a brake. He doesn't want to do that too often because he knows Antti Ramo is ready to pounce into turn 14 and 15 for the last time, and then into turn 16. The last squirt of power out of 17 onto the pit straight. It's gonna be a win for Felipe Laza and Klaus Abelin, but did Antti Ramo take that to the wire? He certainly did, bringing it home in second place. Third place, we're waiting for Torsten Kratz to cross the line. It'll be a third place for him and Danny Sufi in the third place. Now they cross the line. Fourth place for Valentino Catalano and Marcus Pommer. And then we're waiting for Suelio Almeida and Luca Link in the fifth place. Still waiting for car 7 to cross the line with Almeida at the wheel. What a scrap for the race win. It just goes to show you, doesn't matter what someone's grading is, when the heat is on, the adrenaline is flowing. Brilliant stuff. And Antti Ramo, what a fight from him. He wasn't giving that one up without a fight, was he? Antti Ramo, who will be our leading trophy finisher, and Torsten Kratz will be second in the trophy category. No, I beg your pardon, Klaus Abelin, of course, he'll be the leading trophy finisher, having co-piloted with Felipe Laza. So Antti Ramo will be second in the trophy category, and Torsten Kratz in third. What a race. 31 laps completed. Klaus Abelin, Felipe Laza, they had to fight for that ahead of Antti Ramo. Danny Sufi, Torsten Kratz in third ahead of Marcus Pommer. Valentino Catalana, fairly subdued second half of the race for them ahead of Luca Link, Suelio Almeida, then Jakob Erlbacher after that drive-through penalty, Keanu Alazari after problems in the pit stop, then Sven Bart, Mikael Herrick in 8th place, and then the non-finisher. And what a significant non-finisher. The BWT Muka Motorsport car had Julian Apothelos at the wheel, crashing on turn 17, bringing out a red flag. It means no points for Apotelos or indeed for Riccardo Cirelli. That is good news for Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi. Bad news for BWT Mucker Motorsport. Thrilling stuff for the Prototype Cup Germany. Race 3 of the weekend, race 8 of the season. We've only got 4 more races left in the 2024 season. As we sit here basking in the sunshine, the summer sun, it seems a bit crazy to be talking about the season end, but we're getting to the sharp end of the championship, and it is the penultimate round next weekend at the Nürburgring as part of the DTM package. And to remind you again, we will be welcoming to the grid David Schumacher of DTM and GT Masters fame and his father Ralf Schumacher. They will be sharing driving duties in next weekend's Prototype Cup Germany. So race 8 of the season, and what a thrill it was. It was Marcus Pommer who started on pole position. There was Sven Bart, who with fluid leaking from the car couldn't get it running. They did get it going eventually. It was going to be the first of 2 pit lane starts for him. The rest of the cars made it all around the first corner, unlike the race this morning. And then Julian Apotelos challenging hard on Danny Sufi, and this was the big moment, the moment that will be talked about potentially throughout the rest of the season, because Apotelos losing control of the car on turn 17 and going into the barrier. A lot of damage. We had a red flag. Then, when we got restarted, there were 2 cars that were unable to get off the grid. Keanu Alazari and once again Sven Bart. They got both of them going, but both cars were not going to be challengers for podium positions. As a result, were to finish down the order. At the front, it was Marcus Pommer who led the way. He handed over to Valentina Catalano after the pit stop sequence, and then we had Felipe Laza taking the lead, and a phenomenal battle with Antti Ramo. It was Ramo who'd led for such a long time. Felipe Laza worked his way past, but then, audacity of it, Antti Ramo came back and challenged again for that lead. It was a thrilling finish to race 8 of the season, and one that we thoroughly enjoyed here at the Hockenheimring. And for next weekend, races 9 and 10 of the season at the Nürburgring, it's going to be spectacular. Apart from the fact it's a legendary circuit that provides great racing always, we certainly have the guest appearance of the Schumachers who are going to be racing, and that will bring in a crowd in itself. We haven't had an official driver listing release yet, but we're always hopeful of guest drivers in Prototype Cup Germany. But there will be a lot of media interest in Ralf Schumacher's return to racing, along with his son David Schumacher. And David, who we saw in DTM for the last couple of years, he's been in GT Masters this year, and it was a race winner at the Nürburgring in GT Masters just a couple of weeks ago. To see him out in a prototype for both of them, it'll be their first time racing in LMP3, but it will be very, very entertaining, and there's going to be an awful lot of media interest. Of course, coupled with that, we also have DTM, we've got Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany, we've got ADAC GT for Germany. It is going to be a festival of motorsport. We've also got the infamous truck go and stop competition. If you've never seen that, it's worth positioning yourself in the grandstand on the home straight. Very entertaining competition, and the DTM teams are all entering a truck into the go and stop competition. And if you want to know more about it, check out the ADAC website, or better still, head on down to the Nürburgring next weekend for what will be a spectacular weekend of racing. And the Prototype Cup Germany will be there once again, entertaining us on this back-to-back weekend. Right, the minuscule podium awaits the Schumacher champagne. I should think that Ralf will be wanting to sip some of that next weekend, because of course that is his champagne and his company. Right, there is third place, Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz extending their lead at the top of the championship once again. Antti Ramo who really deserves an extra trophy for effort, and if there was one for audacity, he'd get one for that as well on the second step of the podium. But taking the win, their first win of the season, Felipe Laza and Klaus Abelin to the top step of the podium. I say their first win of the season, their first win ever in Prototype Cup Germany. That seems crazy, but yes, the first time we've seen Felipe Laza and Klaus Abelin on the top step of the podium in Prototype Cup Germany. So, are we...
Also zunächst die Hymne, meine Damen und Herren, und zu Ehren von Frikadelli Racing aus Barweiler.
So, just waiting to see who else will come onto the podium. Right, national anthem to conclude race 8 of the season. It has been thoroughly entertaining. We've had 3 races this weekend. We've had drama, we've had back-to-back winners. We have the legendary Klaus Abelin and Felipe Laza on the top step of the podium. We're going to do it all again next weekend. 2 races coming your way at the Nürburgring. Join us next Saturday and next Sunday for round 4 of the Prototype Cup Germany. We'll see you then.
So, und dann werden wir uns noch einmal mit dem GTC Race hier auf dem Hockenheimring. Es steht an der Sprint Nummer 2.